Hey everybody, today on the Rahdo Runs Through show, no, that's not what we're doing. We are doing the R&R&R show. Okay. Hey friends, and welcome to the R&R&R show, episode 73. I'm Ruel Gaviola, joined as always by my co-host, Chris George. Chris, how the heck are you?
I'm fantastic, and I'll say the exact same thing that we did in the last episode with our friends over here. It's not the R&R&R show, it's the R&R&R&R&R&R show, because we've got the crew from Legendary Tactics here, Cax, NATO, and Flash across your screen in that order. Thank you all for joining us, and if you haven't checked out Legendary Tactics, you should, because the amount of work that they put into their videos is beyond compare and beyond anything else on YouTube. And I've only seen glimpses of it, and I'm already tired by all of the amount of editing that I know goes into it. So really, they make great stuff. Welcome to the show. I mean, and if you haven't seen it, we did one of these called Top 6 Games That Replace Uno, where we had the crew on as well, which you should go and check out. But this one is not that. This is the top 6 games that replace Catan.
Yes.
We appreciate being here. Thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah. And, as we see, NATO and Kex, y'all are very cozy right now. You've got the cozy.
We are very cozy right now.
So thank you for making this happen. This is not the first video. This is your second video with us doing this. So we appreciate you hanging in there in the cozy confines of the studio.
Yeah.
That's how you know that they're a real friend group. We have a pre-show. Yeah. We have a pre-show where they're talking about they want to do some of these friends. But that's how you know the true friendship is because they've been cuddled up so nicely for the
and the single screen.
That's all you need. Yeah. As the saying goes, sharing is caring. Okay. So speaking of sharing, why don't we share some tickets to PAX Unplugged, Chris? Now, we did this for the previous video. Folks, again, click the show notes below for the link to our 6 games that replace Uno. We're going to give you another shot to win a pass to PAX Unplugged, happening in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, this December 1st through 3rd. Chris, how can people win their very own pass?
Well, in order to win, you have to keep your ears tuned to the television screens, and a secret word is going to pop up, and we're going to tell you that secret word right now. The secret word is shenanigans. So when you hear either myself or Ruel say the word shenanigans, you have to mark down which game it was said in. So, for example, my game is going to be number 6. I have a game that replaces Catan. If I happen to say shenanigans in that segment, which I'm absolutely not going to do because it's the first one, and why would I make it that easy? You can send it in to contest@rahdo.com. You have to get the correct segment, so make sure you're keeping your ears peeled, and make sure I'm not just talking about my good friend Shannon's Gran, and because she loves making tea, and she's close to my heart. Okay, she's a sweet lady, and maybe you can take Shannon's Gran to PAX Unplugged, or you might see her there crossing the street. So
I hope
keep your ears peeled for shenanigans. I didn't even know what it was when I said it just then. For shenanigans, that'll happen at some point.
Yes.
We shan't do it again.
Exactly.
We shan't do it again. Shan't do it again. It's not that. It has to be shenanigans.
Yeah. All right, great. So again, the name of the game, when one of us says that word, you'll send that to in an email to contest@rahdo.com. And good luck, everybody. We are talking today about the games that replace Catan, if you will. This is a game that a lot of us have, entered the hobby through. It is called a gateway or introductory game. But we feel like there are plenty of other games out there that are even better than Catan. So why don't we kick things off? Chris, you're the man. Let's get this thing going, my friend.
Well, thank you. It's been a while since someone's called me the man, and I feel great. Let's kick it off. I love Catan. I absolutely love Catan. I still do. It was the game that got me into the hobby. It was the game that my friend introduced me to, and I said, oh my goodness gracious, this is what board gaming can accomplish. And so when I was thinking about this, and I did kind of a video on my channel like a year ago, kind of along the similar lines of what to play after Catan, I like to think about it in terms of what I like from Catan and what made it so innovative and novel to me. And so I wanted to focus on the negotiation aspect of it, in terms of taking a game where if you talk long enough, you can wheel and deal your way into that. I'll trade you a sheep for 2 wheat and a wood for some inexplicable reason, but it happened, and it's the best feeling ever. And so the game that I love, that my girlfriend Renee also loves, is a game that is pure negotiation, and that is Chinatown. Chinatown is the one that I would bring forward in terms of, if you love that negotiation aspect of Catan. Like, if you don't, if you like to sit in silence while you play your game of Catan, then this does not replace this, and it won't for you. But if you like to just run your mouth with your friends and try to get that positioning on the board, Chinatown is just a really, really good game. You're going to be getting these lots where you get to choose which lots you're going to keep, and then anything can be traded. Anything can be traded whatsoever. And I love a game that gives you that sort of free form trading, which is what I also really love about Catan. I've come up with some really fun trades in Catan that have resonated with me, or have like become staples in my game group, etc. And Chinatown gives me that same exciting feeling of trading lots, trading things to put in those lots, or trading a space with a lot already on it just for money. And so whatever you have, you get money at the end of a round. At the end of 6 rounds, you win. It's if you love negotiation, this is like a pure negotiation game, and it's super fun, and I like it a lot. So that's why Chinatown is our collective number 6.
Very nice. Yeah, I've not played Chinatown yet, but I know its reputation, and I've always wanted to play. Chris, does this play it too, or do you have to have a minimum of 3 players or more?
No, you have to have a minimum of 3. You can't really play it at 2, and I wouldn't play it at 3. Honestly, it's 3 to 5. I'd play it at like 4 to 5. 3 is fine, but like there isn't enough chaos going on around the table. You want something where if you turn down a deal, you don't just go, well, what about you? Right? Like, you want something where there's a bit more chaos. I like it the best at 5 because it's less easy to keep track of everything, and then it's less easy to just kind of math it out, which you can also potentially suffer from. So
nice, awesome. Our friends
put
from
up all
Legendary
sorts
Tactics. Any thoughts? Whether or not you played or not, how's it seem?
I've heard amazing things about Chinatown. I have yet to try it though. It's on my list.
Yeah.
The reason we're here is to hear about games like this, so we appreciate the suggestion.
Awesome.
Chris, is it still in print?
It was out of print for a while. It was out of print for a while, but I think Z-Man Games put out another print run recently. I know it was available at 401 Games pretty recently. Which I'll just double check it right now to see if there's anything still there, because that's kind of interesting. I assume most of our local stores, since we're all kind of in the area.
We're all in the area.
Right.
You have to check out J&J's in Kitchener-Waterloo, though.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I've heard really good things.
I'm glad you brought that up, Nato, because as I was doing my research for our Essen Spiel episode, I found this game that looks really interesting. This re-implements Chinatown. It's now called Waterfall Park. This is the new version of Chinatown. It is being published by Repos Production, based off there, I believe, in Europe. And I mean, look at this. I mean, it looks beautiful. I mean, this.
Yeah. Is it just a re-theming, though?
I believe
Seems
it is.
like it, yeah.
Yeah, I believe it's just a re-theming. It does say re-implements Chinatown. Now, this also says 3 to 5 players, so I'm assuming it's the same thing. But folks, if you want to know more about this game, go over to my channel, because I'm going to be talking about it on a list real soon here. And I think Richard may have talked about it already. But Waterfall Park re-implements Chinatown.
Nice. Great.
Cool.
Brilliant.
Okay. Why don't we continue on here? Flash, you've got the next one that's going to replace Catan. What you got for us?
Right on. Well, I had a different experience with this game because I wanted it to be my gateway game. I bought it back in, what did it come in, 94, something like that. And it just wasn't that game for me. So recently I've enjoyed it more with family, but there's better games. And so the game I've chosen, I would say, is Catan adjacent. Because Catan is a game all of its own, there really aren't any other games that are just like it. That we need to think about what's a game that's better than Catan that people who play Catan would like, doesn't overstay its welcome. There has to be player-to-player interaction, and it needs to be one that can stick with a gaming table for a long time. So, and I think most importantly for me, it can't have a square or rectangular board. Sorry, Chris, about your pick there, but
no, that's fair.
No, it's. I mean, that was the defining feature for me with this game. So I thought about Seven Wonders. Doesn't really have a board. Viticulture, Seventh Continent, Scythe, Tiny Epic Games, Puerto Rico 1879, which is just new this year, Machi Koro. But I decided on Spirit Island 2017.
Wow.
So thematically, it's almost anti-Catan. So your goal is not to welcome and settle and build, but to drive the settlers away from the island. And rather than building settlements, you're destroying them. And but like Catan, there are settlements, there's cities. The invaders are spreading across the map, and the spirits are also spreading their spirit. So the mechanics, I would concede, are very, very different. So this is a cooperative game. You've got variable player powers, simultaneous action selection. So very different, but both are strategy games. I think both appeal to the same kind of gamer, albeit Spirit Island would be maybe next level after Catan, which I think is a logical progression. Once you've got your fix of Catan, you're ready for something a little more meaty. It does mildly have a modular board. You can see in the image there, depending on the player count, you have sort of different shapes. But, and yeah, you build your engine up, power your spirit up, and I'd say it's about the same length as Catan. So why should it replace Catan? Well, because it gets rid of the dice, and you've also got, Chris, you'll love it, some resource bartering. You get rid of the resource bartering. Sorry, you won't love it. You'll hate it.
Yeah,
I do love it, but for different reasons.
Yeah. Cool. What do you guys think about Spirit Island? You like this one?
I just like that you kick all those colonizers off the spirit's land again, which feels good to me.
Yeah, definitely. I love how they flip the script on the theme. But yeah, to go from Catan to Spirit Island, that's a pretty big leap. I mean, you're going from rolling dice to like, hey, this is really for a cooperative game too, which I think is a good choice. Moving on, if you're going to go to like a deeper, crunchier game like Spirit Island, I think making it a co-op helps, because then the more experienced players can easily, sort of guide the less experienced players. At least that's experience.
Yeah, you have to choose some of the early easy spirits as well for the new gamers.
Yeah.
Agreed. But yeah, Spirit Island, it's so good. It is a fantastic game. Great choice. Let us move on. Cax, you've got the next call for our games that replace Catan.
Yeah, so for me, one of the things that really struck me about Catan was its modular board and the idea of the board ever changing every time you played it. And I can remember being just awestruck and just really thought what a clever idea that was. And so when I was thinking of games, that was one that was sort of front of mind. And the game I came up with was Cascadia from 2021. Yes. And I really, really was struck by this game. It does the same kind of thing. It's the modular board. You've got, you're picking tiles. The board is always changing. Every game is totally different. I do like actually as well that Cascadia adds in things that are like, it adds sort of challenges that you can kind of attempt in the actual rules manual there. So you can go through and try and, hit certain benchmarks and see if you can accomplish different goals. It doesn't have the resource bartering of Catan, but I would, as far as the difficulty level, I would put it on par with Catan, and it certainly doesn't overstay its welcome in game length, which Catan also hits that benchmark. So for me, Cascadia 2021 is just that's an easy no-brainer.
Yeah, for me personally, this is my game of the year 2021. I love Cascadia. Ooh. And my wife and I played a ton of games. And what's cool is I think this might be one of the first games that we talked about on this list, and also in our companion list, Uno, where you can play this solo. I love the solo game of Cascadia. It's very easy to implement, and it gives you the feel of Cascadia without having to need any other humans around. You can just play it by yourself. But great
pesky humans.
Choice. Yeah, great choice, Cax. Any thoughts on Cascadia? Have we all played it, or if not, are you interested in playing it?
Yep, I've played it with Cax many times.
Played it,
yeah. It's great. It's a really I think it's one of those games that almost is greater than the sum of its parts, because if you look at it just as a game initially, you're like, oh, this is whatever. It's going to be, light little game, whatever. But there's a lot of thinking that goes into your choices, and it's got a lot to it actually. It's without being too heavy, without and if you played Catan, you can absolutely pick up Cascadia and do well.
Yeah, another great gateway game.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree 100%. It's really it really is easy to pick up if you've never played a game before. If you only played a Catan, this is slots in really easily with inexperienced gamers or casual gamers. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I'm still waiting for when they add in the sixth animal, the otter expansion. Wait, no, that was a different secret word. That's a different secret word. Oh, shoot. Okay, I'll get it next time.
Folks, that's a flashback. Go ahead and check out the episode a couple of weeks ago, and you'll see what Chris is talking about. It's so great. Chris is the
so you want to see it again at the table?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd love to see that man again.
I love it. Let's move on to the next pick from NATO. It is up to you.
Yeah. So my pick is one that maybe a little more obscure. I'm not sure how big this actually got in terms of the splash that it made at the time, but I looked at some games that I thought were aesthetically very kind of similar, like Terra Mystica. Has maybe some common aesthetic elements, building kind of the cities and the towns and that sort of thing. Arguably, games like Concordia might have some connection there. But ultimately, I decided to go with Deus. Now, this is a game that's about 10 years old, and again, I'm not sure how much of a splash it made at the time, because it was a game that I got that was towards I guess you could say towards the beginning of my re-entry into the hobby, but it does have the modular board, and it does have the you're building up the infrastructure and that sort of thing, but it has it's much more of a competitive game. There isn't resource trading, but there is a sort of a resource building aspect to it, which I thought kind of ties in, and you can almost see some aesthetic comparisons there in the look, but it plays very differently, and it's a really good challenge. I don't think rules wise it's going to be that much harder to learn. It's hard to play well maybe, but it's not hard to actually learn the game. And once you kind of get into the swing of it, it's a really, really interesting game to play. It's just got a lot of really neat mechanics, and again, doesn't overstay its welcome, and well worth a look anyway if you can. I don't know. Have you guys tried Deus? Have you heard of Deus? Is it?
Yeah, I own Deus. It's on my shelf over there. I think it's great.
All right.
Yeah. I have not played it yet, but I know, it's got this really great reputation. And I don't know why. I think it's one of those games where I just always miss out at game night. It's always like at the other table, and it's like, I started or whatever. But I know that people rave about it. I think, isn't the designer the same gentleman that did like Twa or something, or one of those? Was it Black Angel? I'm not sure. I forget. Oh man, we should look this up.
I'm not sure either. I know it was. Oh yeah.
He did Troyes or
Troy. Sebastian Dujardin, I believe his name is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he did that. Yeah. Oh man, he's got some. He did Lofoten, which we actually did a run through on the channel before, and he's done some big games. Black Angel. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Good stuff. Okay.
Yeah, and Deus is. I think it's just. It has the air of something of a classic of the genre in many ways. It just the way it's just a very elegant design. Everything fits together, and it's a game I lose often, especially to CAX, but I still enjoy it, and that's my best thing I could say about it.
Nice.
That even when you lose, you still you know what, I'll get you next time.
Yeah. Again, a great a great litmus test, right? Is it will you play it again even though you always lose at it or bad at it? I have a ton of games like that in my collection. I'm terrible at them, but I still love them.
We'll call it the loser test. We got
the loser test,
and the loser test.
And the loser test. That's my nickname in high school.
Oh, poor Chris.
No, Deus is really solid though. I feel like it's a real underrated gem too. It's probably hard to find a copy of it now though, because I think Pearl Games was producing it, and I don't think they're around anymore.
Right.
And so like it's one that I like hope gets revived down the line. Like I love the action efficiency. I love that you have to you want to strategically go into building just like one type of building. There's like 5 different types of buildings.
Yes.
But it also encourages you to like spread that out. Because if you build just one, then you chain your engine every time. But if you build like all across, then you can build these super powerful end game monuments. But you need one of everything to build like your first or second monument. It's just like it's really cool. I love the boat zone. They go on the sea, and you get your armies running around the land. It's
so it has a lot of the same thematic elements as Catan. It's just handled differently. You know, you have the armies. You're kind of chaining the not a road exactly, but you're building buildings and building.
Yeah, because you have to build orthogonal to yourself, right? Like in order to spread out. So like getting that sort of like road factor in there.
Yes.
Yeah. I was trying to tie it in with my favorite documentary, Sea, Land, and Ham, but I couldn't figure out a good tie. So here we are.
There you go. Nice. Okay. Thank you, friends. Why don't we move on? Is it time for me? It is time for me.
Time for you.
Yeah. The game that I've chosen is one. Now I look at it like this. I wanted something. If I'm going to replace Catan, I want something with dice in it. I'm not going to get rid of the dice. I'm going to keep the dice. I'm going to keep the resources. I'm going to keep it a lighter game that is really easy to get to the table, and that's why I chose for our collective list Stone Age. This is probably, I think this might have been my very first worker placement game that I played, and I knew right then and there that I like worker placement. I like putting little workers out there to collect resources and do stuff. And Stone Age is the perfect way to introduce that mechanism of people, especially if you've just gotten your fill of Catan. Why don't you move on over? You can still roll dice. In fact, you're going to roll a bunch of dice, depending on how many workers you have, to get those resources. You're going to flip those resources to get tech cards or, the cards that score you points or whatnot. And, like any good Euro game, you've got to feed your people. So at the end of the round, if you don't have enough farming or food, people are going to starve and you're going to lose points. But thankfully, you can use your resources. I always like to say, my people are eating wood sandwiches, but, it's in the theme of the game, you're like trading wood for food or whatever. But and in keeping with Catan, if I'm perfectly honest, so I love this game. I still have it, but keeping on with the Catan theme, this does overstates welcome a little bit. If this game could be narrowed down a little bit by about 20 minutes or so, because it usually goes on over an hour, and by then it's like, okay, I love the game, but it's a little bit, it's a little repetitive. But it's still a game that I bring out every so often if the people at the table have never played a worker placement game, and especially if their experience is mainly with just Catan, then we're bringing in this because it has a little bit more going on. There's no direct trading, but there is a lot of interaction, like trying to, hose each other out of certain spots. You teach that whole, hey, I'm going to deny you the spot by putting my worker there. Ha ha. Welcome to the wonderful world of worker placement. So that's why my choice is Stone Age. I'm still a fan of this game, folks, and I think it's a really good one to replace Catan with. Thoughts from my friends here, Legendary Tactics or Chris, yourself?
Yeah, what's worse, imaginary people starving or you losing points?
Losing points, probably.
Probably losing points, but I guess the starving thing. We'll go with that.
I don't know. Is that like almost a tie?
Right? Yeah. And that's I love Stone Age because there's always those months. We always crack up. Whenever I play, it's always okay. If you can't feed your people, you can use resources. And people are like, oh, so you're making me feed people gold bars? I'm like, well, think of it like, they're just gold sandwiches or something.
How do you think the pirates get their gold meat?
There you go. Yes.
It's because they had one too many delicious gold bar sandwiches.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's, to me, it's still one of the best, if not best, introductory worker placement games. There are others like, I like using like Raiders of the North Sea, I think is a wonderful one as well. But I picked Stone Age just because it does have the dice. And yeah, you have that luck factor. But, coming from Catan, like, hey, I've got more dice. That's just as fun, if not funner, because there's more to roll and get resources with. So,
I love that
Yeah.
the game came out in 2008, but it took until 2017 to win the Hungarian Board Game Award.
Did it really?
They weren't sure.
That's a fun fact.
I
Yeah.
had to think
Really?
about it.
9 years?
Yeah. They have a long jury process over there in Hungary.
Wow.
They get up to plenty of shenanigans, but eventually they decide
Yeah.
on.
I think they were thinking about giving it the award like in 2010, but they were like, let's give it another 7 years just to make
Yeah,
sure.
Just to be sure.
Yeah.
I want a couple of thousand more plays before I give it the award.
It's like we don't want to get this wrong. We don't want to have another debacle when we gave it to Monopoly.
Yeah, I think it took them like 500 years to nominate Backgammon, but they finally gave it to
Yeah.
Backgammon.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go see what Richard's got for us as far as his choice to replace Catan.
All right. Excellent choices, everybody. I'm about to tell you mine, but first of all, folks, I'm assuming Flash mentioned this, but I mean, geez, Spirit Island thematically makes perfect sense just to turn the tables, but oh my gosh, that is got to be one of the heaviest, crunchiest, scariest games out there. So, at the very least, if you're going to take his advice, please do not start with Spirit Island, but instead Horizons of Spirit Island, which, while it's still just as big and crunchy, does everything it can to make the game a little bit more approachable and streamlined. I love the idea. I love the ambition. You do scare me, Flash. Also, in case Chris didn't mention it, Chinatown is an excellent choice, maybe the best choice of all of them. But what's really, really cool is you have a new option. Recently, Waterfall Park just came out, which is a re-implementation of Chinatown in a cool, more fanciful, beautiful looking waterfall-based kingdom with water slides all over the place. It looks absolutely gorgeous, and I think it's going to get a lot of people excited about Chinatown all over again. It just looks absolutely stunning. Now, what was my choice? Well, again, all of your choices were great, and I think kind of if you put them in front of a Catan player, they'd say, oh, okay, I get it. What are we doing here? I decided to buck the trend and go in a very unexpected direction. My choice is My Farm Shop. Because there's a lot of different ways you could go with Catan, leaning into the trading aspect, leading into the building roads and cities aspect. But to me, what makes Catan memorable more than anything else is that kind of slot machine style thing of, hey, these are where I built my houses, we roll the dice and I get a payday and whatnot. And then the robber moves, and I hate all that stuff. Can't stand that stuff. Catan, not my favorite at all, but I understand why it's such a great gateway. To me, again, that slot machine, yes, I got what I wanted. That I wanted to show people, look, there are other ways you can get that dopamine rush. And of course, folks know Machi Koro spawned a whole subgenre of games inspired by the dice rolling of Catan and just taking out the board, saying, hey, you know what, you can still build something big and meaningful, but it's more localized to you, so you don't have to worry about other people cutting each other off and being cutthroat and all of that. And while Machi Koro was a great game for its time, it has been so eclipsed by so many different games, and as far as I'm concerned, My Farm Shop is the best of all of them. It's immediately approachable. I think if people enjoyed the setting of Catan, they would enjoy this too, a very warm, open, hey, everybody's got their farm, they are trying to grow produce, to sell it, to make points, and every round, now you don't roll 2 dice, you roll 3 dice. Whoever's the lead die roller rolls the 3 dice, uses one of those dice to grab a new card and add it to their farm, thereby reprogramming it, which is an excellent mechanism that really takes things to the next level, because you're constantly expanding your horizons, not by building roads, but by making a more powerful farm, looking for combos between these cards. And then the trick is, the other 2 dice that weren't used by the lead player, everybody uses those dice to activate whatever space is appropriate on their farm shop. And the beautiful thing is, unlike some other games where, and Catan itself, where, sometimes the dice just don't go your way and you get nothing while you sit back and watch other people get things. In this game, everybody gets something every round. And so it's much more satisfying, it's much more fast moving, and it's just more fun all around. There's more interesting decisions to make with the dice. There's more interesting decisions to make as you upgrade your own personal farm. And the other thing I love about it too is it starts out simple. The basic rules are, I mean, if anything, even a little bit more approachable than Catan, but the game comes with 3 additional modules built in. So as you play it more and more, you don't have to go out and buy expansions like Catan. They're built into the box. You can turn on the special power cards. You can turn on the, there's 3 different ones you can add. And if you turn all 3 on, this game gets crunchy. This game becomes something that me and Jen, old grizzled board game geeks, still love. So this game just works for everybody, and I love it to pieces. It's my favorite of the Machi Koro by way of Settlers of Catan inspired roll dice and rake in the big rewards every round. It's my farm shop. And that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Back to you guys.
Wow, my farm shop. I have not played this game. I have heard many, many good things about it. And the one thing I want to point out that Richard said, I really like games that, you're never just sitting around. There's not a lot of downtime, right? There's, when someone gets resources, you get resources. You get to do a follow action or whatever. I always appreciate that in game designs. And that's why I would love to play my farm shop ASAP one of these days.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, Catan does have that going for it with the negotiation. There's always at least a conversation going every turn.
That's right.
The actual turn move is pretty quick, but then you've got to have a chit chat with everybody and see where things are at.
Exactly.
The hard part with board gaming is that you wonder when your collection reaches its apex, or at what point do you this is a game from 2020 and maybe it's time to freshen up the collection, or are you happy going back to the vault to these old games, right? So I love hearing these new suggestions where you really focus on a game and just to give it a shot.
Yeah, that's a great point. How long do these days, the classics, they can change from one year to the next. I feel like there's always, something new coming in. It's like, oh, does this really replace that or this? Or so we have a lot more choices now than we did, say, 10, 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But at least if you never want to share Catan again, well, then you have these 6 options.
Exactly. And there they are. I want to thank our friends from Legendary Tactics for joining us. Folks, did you know we do an extended version of this show where we got to talk all kinds of stuff? And so be sure to click the links below because you get to know the Legendary Tactics crew in depth. We ask them all the hard-hitting questions.
Should.
Chris really got to the heart of who these guys are. I want to thank them again for joining. But here, don't forget, did you get the secret word, folks? Did you hear one of us, me or Chris, say the word? Well, you know what? You go start the video. One of us said it, and one of you can win a free pass of PAX Unplugged. All you have to do is enter the name of the game that we were talking about that time to contest@rahdo.com, and you'll be entered to win that ticket. Chris,
or maybe you're hard of hearing like Shannon's gran, and we didn't get it. No, but who can know?
It's you're killing me, Chris. Chris, any final thoughts before we wrap things up here, my friend?
No, that's it. I love Catan, and I also love games that remind me of it. So Catan will always hold a very fond place in my heart, and so I like lists that talk about it. Legendary Tactics crew. What are you? Any signing off words?
We appreciate you being out there, and we gotta say, get out there.
Yes.
Get gaming
and be legendary.
Yes. Thank you, friends.
That's true.
All right.
Be legendary.
Be legendary, friends. That's the perfect way to sign things off for this episode of the R&R&R show. Thanks again. We'll see you later. So long. Bye-bye.